All right, guys, looks like we actually have some credible movement on the Nintendo Switch 2 side when it comes to two big JRPGs that I'm really excited for. I know a lot of you guys are excited for when it comes to Persona 3 Reload and Metaphor ReFantazio, because we have a leaker who's actually got things right when it comes to Persona, as they specialize in that, talking about how these two RPGs could be coming to the next generation Nintendo system. But before we get into that, what's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my Nintendo Switch JRPG videos, live streams, and more first right here on PlayerEssence. Now let's talk about this, because Persona 3 Reload and Metaphor ReFantazio are two of the most anticipated Japanese RPGs from Atlus to be released this year, and they were not announced for the Nintendo Switch. Now, there was an interview the other day talking to the producer, and he said, well, when we were writing this up, we didn't have a Nintendo Switch version planned, but we'll see what happens. Many took that "we'll see what happens" as maybe it's going to be for the successor. Some people took it as Atlus just being stupid, because they're always stupid, but I didn't really see it that way, especially after the success of Persona 3, Persona 4, and Persona 5 on the Nintendo Switch. Atlus made millions upon millions of dollars, and if you look at the sales charts in Japan, Nintendo Switch is dominating there, and it seems like it's going to transfer over to the next system. Now, Metaphor ReFantazio from the Persona team, the people who made Persona, so obviously people are going to be really excited for that. Now, there wasn't any comments or anything from the developers saying why it wasn't on the Nintendo Switch. It just wasn't announced for it. I once again said, hey, I think that this game could come to the next generation Switch. Why put it on the current Switch and you're going to have problems with the port? Maybe it doesn't run as good when you have a more capable system, and have probably had that capable system for about a year or so, or at least 6 months or so. They've probably had the dev kits. Atlus has a very good relationship with Nintendo, so they probably have had the dev kits down for quite some time. So why put it on that and struggle to get the port done when you can put it on their bigger, more powerful system and get all of those day one sales? Because people are going to be excited for a Persona game to come out on the Nintendo Switch early in its life. I think it's going to do incredibly well, and it's going to cost you less probably on porting the game, because the system is more capable. Now, obviously you lose out on the big install base of the Nintendo Switch, but at the same time, it's not like you didn't get a bag from Microsoft for Game Pass, and you also have a lot of PlayStation 4 and PS5 users in addition to PC as well, so you can make that up maybe on the back end and put it out for that new system. So the rumor here comes from someone who's actually credible. This is not just random rumors from someone who consistently gets things wrong over and over that you see here on YouTube and on the interwebs, but this guy, MBKKSSTBHZ5. I don't know how you exactly say it all together, but that's him. He is a prominent Persona leaker, and he is stating that yes, Metaphor ReFantazio and Persona 3 Reload are planned on Nintendo's next system. Now, I want to go over exactly what he had to say here on his tweet. There was a tweet from Mio on Twitter. He says, in an interview with Atomics VG, Atlus has stated that from the very beginning of the development process for Persona 3 Reload, a version for Nintendo Switch was explicitly decided against. The demand is noted, however, and it's now a matter of discussing it with the team. And then he put right underneath that tweet, he said, because Persona 3 Reload will be on the next Nintendo hardware and Metaphor 2. So this guy, he's just basically saying that he has gotten many things right. Let's go over a bit of his track record. So if you look back when Persona 5 Royal was rumored to potentially be coming to more systems, he nailed Persona 5 Royal, he nailed Persona 4 Golden, and Persona 3 Portable, all of those being remastered, in addition to Persona 5 Strikers and Persona 5 Tactica. So all of those Persona games that came to Nintendo Switch before it was officially announced, he leaked, he stated they're all coming, when many people said that it wasn't. I don't know if you guys were around in terms of looking at news back then, but there were so many people saying that Persona 5 is never coming to Nintendo Switch, Persona 4 is never coming to Nintendo Switch. There's some type of super deal with Atlus and Sony. So that's the reason why it's never coming. Trust me, guys. I know it seems crazy now at this point because we have a bunch of Persona games and SMT on the Nintendo Switch, but at that time, many people felt that there was some type of exclusive deal and Persona wasn't going to be on Nintendo, and if it is, it's just going to be some type of spin-off like the music dancing games or maybe even Strikers or something else. And this guy got that right when it comes to all of those Persona games all coming to Nintendo Switch. So he is a noted leaker. He is accurate with this information, and I do believe, even before I saw what he had to say here, I already believed that they were opting for that next system. Let me give you another reason why I felt that way as well. If you look at what Nintendo told Ubisoft, and I bring this up quite a bit because I think it's important, they told them, hey, there's no need to have another Mario plus Rabbids game on the Nintendo Switch because you already have Mario plus Rabbids. It might not do as well. People just like to buy that game. And even throughout the whole Nintendo Switch life, Mario plus Rabbids, yes, it was discounted, but people were still buying the game. They were still very profitable off of that game. They did DLC, they did all sorts of stuff. So the game was still very relevant even years after it launched as people picked it up. Nintendo advised them to not make another one and save it for the next system. Ubisoft did not listen, and while the game has sold over 3 million units done at this point, according to VGC and a source that they have, the game necessarily didn't do as well as they thought considering the development time period it took for them to do it and considering what the original game did. They thought with the bigger install base that it'd do better, but there's already a bunch of Mario games and now it's getting closer to the end of the generation and they already have Mario plus Rabbids, so that was like the shock value. But if you held on to it and did it on the next system and made it even more impressive, that would have been a bigger impact than just doing it on the Nintendo Switch or even having a cross-gen version of the game where you can have the Nintendo Switch version and you can have the Nintendo Switch 2 version, but the Switch 2 version is the one that everyone wants to play. So that's what I see here. We already have multiple different Persona games on the Nintendo Switch. There's no need to put that one on the Switch, especially if it's going to be a port that's going to take longer or it's going to be a crusty version of that. The next system is right there. You can ride the hype and wave of that. And even if you want, you could release a Switch version down the line if you really felt like it, but taking advantage of the Nintendo Switch 2 would probably be a very good thing considering how hot this system is going to start out. It's going to launch hot. People are going to be excited and people are going to want huge games when it comes to RPGs out there. So I think that they said, hey, you know what? It's going to be an easier port and probably just hold on. There's a lot of Persona that people are buying. People are still buying Persona 5, Persona 4, Persona 3 since it came out late in the gen. Let's just wait a bit. So I think that's what's happening here with Persona 3 Reload in addition to Metaphor ReFantazio. So what do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comment section, but we are going to move on over to the huge controversy that is blowing up all over the internet. And I wanted to give my take if you didn't see my video last weekend about Palworld. This game has been accused of all sorts of stuff when it comes to AI plagiarism, when it comes to copying models or stealing models from Pokemon. We've seen people retort with a really silly and stupid comparison between Dragon Quest and Pokemon, even though nobody's ever felt in the history of the world that Pokemon and Dragon Quest are ripping off each other. Nobody's ever felt that, but apparently now that's the case now that Palworld is out. So this is blown up to the point to where it's crazy. You've got fans on both sides literally at each other's throats when it comes down to it. People saying Nintendo's at fault here for this, and if Pokemon was better then nobody would care about Palworld, which doesn't even make sense. So that's just basically saying Palworld's not a good game if you say that you wouldn't play it otherwise. So there's just a lot of nonsense and BS with this, and it's all fueled by Palworld making millions upon millions of dollars in 3 days of sales. This is the latest number. It might even be higher at this point. The game has sold over 5 million units. They announced this on the official Palworld Twitter account saying Palworld has sold over 5 million copies in only 3 days. Thank you so much. In addition, thank you to all the illustrators on Palworld art and videos on Pal Clips from all over the world. Please leave a review if you're enjoying your time in Palworld. Hashtag Pocket Pair. 5 million Pal Tamers in only 3 days. So it's pretty crazy, right? So it's all fueled by that. People are saying that the reason why is because Pokemon's not good enough and they need to do this and that. And as someone who's put a pretty crazy amount of time into Palworld. Not as much as like some people putting 40 hours or so, but I've put, I think around, 15 to 16 hours into Palworld on Steam. I put about 3 hours into the Xbox version before I tapped out and said I had enough. The Steam version is clearly the definitive version of the game where it was built for because of the 32 players online compared to the only up to 4 players online on Xbox. The fact that there's a lot more features, the game looks better. There's like so many different things Palworld on Steam, which they are trying to get some fixes. I think that there is a fix up for Xbox in terms of glitches and stuff like that. And remember, this is early access. It's an early access game. It's only $30. It's $30 on Xbox, $29.99. It's a little bit cheaper on Steam with the 10% discount. And I picked it up on both systems, but I've been playing it predominantly on PC via Steam. And I have a nice PC, so everything's working well there. But the discourse between the fan bases and the discourse between people has gotten to ridiculous levels. I see too much cap on both sides. Listen, you can like Palworld and you can like Pokemon. I don't think one directly necessarily has to impede and body and destroy the other. If you play Palworld, it's a crafting survival, weird type of game. It's a mix of so many different genres and everything. It doesn't really play like Pokemon, and I think that's the reason why it's blowing up, because it doesn't really play like Pokemon. All of the other games that play like Pokemon, people have ignored. People have not purchased like this. If you look at something like Yokai Watch, that was huge in Japan. It sold really well, and it's kind of like Pokemon, but with very much different things that they did. But if you look at all the other games, stuff like Monster Hunter Stories 2, stuff like Temtem, stuff like Dragon Quest Monsters, The Dark Prince, games that play more like Pokemon, especially Temtem, people aren't gonna buy it or didn't buy it like they did Palworld. So Palworld is selling because people think that it looks cool, because it has crafting elements, because it has guns, because it has survival elements, because it's a different style of open world game. It's not like Pokemon. If it was turn-based battles like Pokemon with guns here and there and you didn't have some of the crazy stuff that was in the game, I doubt it would have done as well. Just like many other games that tried to clone Pokemon didn't do as well either. So to me, as someone who likes Pokemon, I grew up with Pokemon, I think it's a good game. They obviously have issues. They obviously have issues with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and those need to be worked out. But Palworld isn't some type of ignition, especially when Pokemon Scarlet and Violet probably could have been over 25, 27 million units in that range if it was better. I think that they could have sold more. Now, they sold 23 million units plus, and they're getting close to Pokemon Sword and Shield, which I think is the second or third best selling Pokemon game of all time. So they're already up there in like the top 3 or so, but I think it could have done even better. Pokemon sold 10 million units in 3 days. I think it sold 20 million units in 6 weeks. So Pokemon's still going to continue to be Pokemon, and the Pokemon company, Game Freak, have to do a better job, especially with this new hardware coming up with Nintendo. But I think that it's just been silly when it comes to the conversation on both sides. People just need to relax. Palworld can be Palworld. It can be its kind of the boys version of Pokemon, a very different take on superheroes, a very different take on the gameplay. It's not really innovative in any type of way, as they're kind of taking from multiple different games, taking from Elden Ring and Souls games, they're taking from Breath of the Wild, the Ark game as well. They're taking from various different styles and types of games and kind of putting it all together in their own flavor, then sprinkling a little bit of their own pocket pear on top of that. People are just focusing on Pokemon with guns because they're just focusing on that. But if you play the game and if you realize what's going on, it's a very different type of game. Outside of some of the designs maybe being hawked or stolen, or 3D models, which once again is kind of, people are talking about it one way or another, I don't really think there needs to be really any craziness when it comes down to this. Like, you can like both, you can enjoy both, and both can be very successful in this whole thing, right? In this whole thing, there's enough people when it comes to the money, when it comes to everything, to where they can both be successful and both be fine, and I feel that going forward, we're going to see what is going to be going on. All right, we're going to see, because Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I think, to me, when it comes to the review scores, when it comes to the sales being good but possibly could have been a lot better, Pokemon Company and Game Freak absolutely are looking at that and saying, okay, there could have been so much more, considering how different of a style of game that it is. But I'm happy for Palworld. I bought multiple copies of it. I'm going to continue playing it. I stream it right here on this channel, so make sure you hit the notification bell to know when I go live. So yeah, awesome stuff all around. But yeah, Palworld, congratulations to them, and guys, chill to relax when it comes down to it. But that's going to wrap it up for this video here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch and RPG videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.